Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Mimic, the mortgage marketing podcast by marketers for marketers in the mortgage industry, talking about how the marketing in mortgages is actually pretty cool. So I have with me today a wonderful guest, a good friend of mine for the past several years, Eric Skates. Eric, welcome.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me on today. Really excited about all the stuff we can talk about.
Yeah, dude. So let's just jump right in. You just joined a new company. Where did you go? What's going on?
I joined First Option Mortgage.
Awesome. Based out of good old Atlanta, Georgia, right?
Yeah, the ATL. Yes.
Out of the ATL. And we were just talking right behind those shades is something pretty cool. What do you have behind you?
It's the Braves Stadium, right there. Like I could throw a rock and hit it.
That's so cool. I love it.
But it was hard for you to see me, so that's why.
Yeah, another time we'll do an office tour. How about that?
Absolutely.
I'm not very good for podcasts, but great for video. All right. So Eric, joining a new company is something that happens to a lot of marketers throughout their career. So I thought it'd be kind of cool today to talk about your experience coming into a new company that has really never had someone in this position before. And so tell us really quick, I mean, what was the first things that you did when you came over to First Option? Obviously they recruited you because you're an expert in the marketing aspect of the mortgage industry. You've been in this business for a long time. So what are the first things that you did when you got there?
Well, the first thing that I did was I just developed like a 30, 60, 90-day plan because I needed to wrap my head around what I needed to do. Because when you come into a new organization, you have to kind of figure out the politics. You got to figure out who's in leadership. You got to figure out who the power players are and also the resources that you have. And so I knew what I wanted to do. And so if I didn't put it down in a plan in some sort of way where it's a strategy, then I would just come in and not have a clue on what to do. So I started out with, the 30-day and started, trying to figure out that just those things of who are the power players. So talk with the sales team, talk with the leadership and figure out what they need in order to make them successful so that I can work with them effectively. And so making sure that that 30-day structure was in line was so important. And so I sat down with the managing partners of First Option and I gave them my pitch of what I wanted to do. And they were nothing but excited and ready to, move forward and build upon the strategy that I had already started to put into place.
Awesome. Yeah. Setting that vision is super important. So let's talk about kind of what that evaluation process looked like. So it sounds like you came in and you said, all right, I got to get the lay of the land here. What are some of those things that you specifically that you looked at? You mentioned, looking at who are the important people in the company, who are the power players, who are the Fobbies of the world, the Shelleys, et cetera. Ashley, who are your top LOs, your top regional managers, who's making the company tick, right? But on top of that, I'm assuming you probably did a couple of other things as well. You looked at a couple different aspects of what was happening within the organization. So what did you look at specifically?
Well, to hit on what you just said about, Fabi, Shelley, Ashley, I made sure to reach out to those people I thought might be important to get to know on LinkedIn. And I started to create a rapport with them before I got there. And so, within the time that I was kind of transitioning, I started to say hello to these people and have conversations with them and to figure out, what they were wanting to do. Ashley Cragen is pretty new to the company as a recruiter. So I wanted to know what her take was and her takeaways of how she started. Same thing for Fabi. He's doing a lot of things with podcasting and sales, and he's got his hand in a lot of things with, the 2020 vision. So talking with him and having conversations with him prior was so key. So to go on to the other topic that you were talking about was, I made a budget. That was one of my top, 30-day goals, was to create a budget, figure out what I needed in order to make our team be something successful. And so I sat down with the managing partners and we went through the budget line by line. And it was nothing but excitement and also a little hesitation because I wasn't sure of, oh, wow, this guy's really wanting to do a lot of things. And, is this possible to do in 30, 60, 90 days on down the road? But I started thinking if I didn't do this ahead of time, because whatever we want to do in 2022 is coming up pretty quick. And so we've got to lay the ground rules and also everything that we want to do, lay it out, because we have to pre-plan, we have to prepare. And if we don't get the brand mission, vision, and core's values, all of that laid out ahead of time, where all the people who are in the organization are on board with it, then it's not going to work. So I knew definitely if we could get a budget in place, if we could figure out what our current resources were and where we are marketing things, what we're using for marketing, and what's working, what's not, and really kind of work that into the SWOT analysis that I created, which was just yesterday. Pulled together about 10 people in the organization. We made it very, very interactive. I was like, you're not sitting down, so be ready to stand up and start moving around. And, I had 2 people on strengths, 2 people on weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and we just kind of transitioned around. And so everyone had their ideas, their thoughts going, and we just sat down after we got all that laid out and really figured out what we needed to do and where we needed to hit first so that we can be ready for 2022.
I love it. I love it. So you mentioned kind of a lot of different things here. So you mentioned core mission and values. You mentioned budget. You mentioned people. You mentioned SWOT analysis. So there's obviously a lot that went into this. When you're talking about the overall kind of mission values, and that seems like that's kind of the overarching essence of who the company is, right? So what did that process look like for you when you created those? Did you make those just kind of up based on the findings you had with as you're going through that first 30-day analysis of talking to different people and everything like that, or did that kind of come out of a conversation with the managing partners? Like, how did you come up with that?
Well, the idea that we needed to evolve the mission and the vision within the brand came from the SWOT analysis, because it made us realize, we're changing, we're diverse within the company, and we're growing. So we need to grow as a company and as a people. And so what it is currently doesn't really match what we're becoming. So in that we're, right now developing the new and the evolving brand of what First Option is going to be, because we all want to be in this together and together as one. And so we can't be siloed. We have to be in it all and make sure that we're all understanding what the common goal is. And so we all can follow the core values, and we know what the mission is, and we know what the brand statements are, because if you don't know what those are, then it's hard to sell the brand.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And that has to be something that becomes so ingrained in the company culture, and everyone in the companies understand what are your values, what are your core, like the mission statement of the company.
And this company has a great culture, and
yeah.
and it's just not being portrayed in the way that it needs to be currently. So, I mean, I was surprised that it had, a structure that it is now, because everybody's so fun and everybody's so willing to jump in and help. But from looking outside in, it wasn't being portrayed that way yet on social media. So that's one strategy also that we're doing, is really going to pump up what we do, what we're doing currently in our culture out there on social media, so everyone else can see how great it is.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, that culture aspect piece, obviously is very important to you. And it is something that is both external and internal. I think a lot of people miss that piece there, right? When we think about marketing, a lot of times it's like, all right, what are the postcards that we're sending out in the mail? What's our brand presence on our website or on social media? But it's an internal aspect as well. And the internal marketing is really, really critical. And it sounds like you're doing a really good job at perpetuating the overarching values and culture of the company internally. Really quick, before we get too far away from this, though, I wanted to ask, just so everyone understands, who's listening to this, like, and maybe just for the edification of a few, talk about like what is a SWOT analysis and how did you do that? How did you set it up? Like, what was the setup of it? What did you, obviously strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? But how did you set that up, and how did you train people on how to work within that?
I create an agenda. I'm a super uber planner. So when I first came in, I made sure people knew that this was going to be happening. And so I got with the main people within the organization and realized who I needed to invite to it. Because if I didn't have those people that could make key decisions or, bring in diversity from what we are as a culture, it can't be just all one type of person. It has to be from sales. It has to be from marketing. It has to be from management. It has to be from finance, HR, all of us together, so that when we do come up with all these different ideas, it's going to be across the board and we can all say that we had a hand in it. So also business development was involved as well, because they're super important regarding recruiting. But number one, agenda, you got to pull that together. So for the SWOT analysis, I wanted to make it fun. So I made sure to, this is black and white right now, but I made sure to have, a welcome, and then I've done SWOT analysis before in an executive environment, and they can be stuffy, but they also can be a lot of fun. And so I only had a couple hours in the day for these, execs and business development and everybody to participate. And so I knew if I didn't keep it fun and entertaining, that they would lose, the need to be there, and they'd be on their phones or whatever. So I created something, that you put out there, kind of like a contract. And so we all went over these different terms of what we wanted to accomplish within the SWOT analysis. And then I had everyone get up and kind of just sign it as, I agree, this is what we're going to do today. And then from there we had a safe word. So if somebody got out of hand, if somebody started being rude, which that never happened, by the way, or if we got off topic, or if we went on a tangent, or if we had side conversations, we could just say that safe word and everybody would understand, oh, it's time to get back on topic. And so then we had, icebreakers, and then I grouped people together in order to make sure that we could all have different views on the different aspects of what we were trying to figure out. So from strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, we just structured it where, every 3 minutes we would switch. And so the group would move on to the next and move on to the next. And then after we finished all that, we kind of figured out, well, we need to decide out of all of this that we just laid out, what was the most important. So I designated one person for each of the topics to do the circling, and we figured out what were the top 5 things we want to accomplish within the next 6 to 12 months from all of the things that we decided. And so from that, I have now a pretty clear goal of a strategy of what 5 things that we want to accomplish in the next year.
That's such a great way. Thank you for giving so much explanation on that. I think someone coming in could use this as a roadmap of what to do, because that's really cool. You pulled a bunch of people in, you looked at all those different categories, you let everyone participate in all of it, and then came back together and, we're able to develop a strategy out of it. And that's the whole point of having a SWOT analysis. So,
but the goal is you have to execute on the stuff once it's done.
That's the hardest part of the whole thing, right?
So that's why I was saying we picked 5 out of everything, because we laid it out like to the nth degree. But if you try to do it all, you're going to fail.
Well, there's real power in listing everything up on a board and then saying, and have people stack rank it, right? What is most important? And then, having people fight about what is number 3 and number 4, because sometimes it's hard. You're like, number 1 and, number 1 can be, pretty clear every once in a while. But 3, 4, 5, it can get harder as you go down the list. But Eric,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But in our situation, there was no argument. It was like everybody was on the same page with what was the most important in each section.
That's awesome. Congrats.
It was, I was shocked.
Uh, outside of that, I mean, well, that's really cool to hear. It sounds like, that
You got to hang up the ego too.
yeah,
Just
well, what
know.
that means is that you have people on the same page, and that means that it's gonna make your job a lot easier to be able to deliver on what everybody in the company actually agrees on. So that's awesome. Outside of that, was there anything that kind of stuck out to you, or anything that would surprise you out of that whole process?
Um, just that everybody was on the same page. That I mean, I've had a lot of different experiences where you're in a meeting and there are people that just cannot get on the same page, and
Mhm.
egos do come in, and so I was very pleasantly surprised at how efficient everything went with just the small amount of time we had.
And
One
you
thing I
really
do want to
were
touch on, what
Oh, I was just
sorry.
saying, you're really more of the facilitator of that, right? And so I think,
Yeah,
as a
I
marketer,
because I'm new, I
yeah.
didn't really get in there and add things myself because I was trying to figure out what we're doing now or what we've
Mhm.
been doing so that I can figure out a way to plus it up, make it better,
Yeah.
and create uniqueness from what we were doing to what we can be doing and build upon it. Because I don't really want to change us. I want to evolve us
That's
and make
right.
us all grow together, because that's where the buy-in comes,
Mhm.
is when we all know that we can work together to become better.
Yeah, it's and that start, you mentioned having no egos, and that starts with you, right? And that can sometimes be the hardest part, because I'm sure you came in with some preconceived notions about the company, about the brand, about the mission, about what you wanted to do. And you have to take all those and put them aside and just facilitate and let these things happen, so that you can learn and understand what they really want, and then execute on those things, and take your expertise that you've had over the years of experience doing marketing and mortgages, and be able to evolve what they're doing, evolve their thinking, help them. You have to sometimes lead people to water, but you can't drink for them, right? But
Exactly. And it was so great to see the leadership also just be open. And,
mhm,
they were just, I mean, Alvin was up there and just writing some stuff up himself, and
yeah,
I just loved how engaging he was
mhm.
to the process, and no ego at all, just complete and utter collaboration.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on. Now you got the SWOT analysis, you got everyone's buy-in. Now it's budget time, right? How did that sounds like such an overwhelming thing to say, all right, I have all these things that now everyone agrees are very important. Now I got to figure out how to plan for them, right? How Walk me through that process a little bit. Like, what did you have to do, and how many late nights and lots of coffees did you have to drink along?
Well, honestly, it wasn't really that hard because I've done a budget before and I knew what I've done in the past and what, we need to grow. All I kind of did was take my experience of what I've done and just apply it to, the things that I've heard here. I did a lot of listening. I sat down with a lot of people and just listened. I did not, really input my opinions. I just listened to what they were wanting or what they were experiencing. And so I took that and realized, okay, what we need for social media, what we need for, our marketing team, because I'm building that out now.
It's
And
people
so
too, right? I mean, so you're talking not just dollars and cents for technology or event sponsorships or whatever. You're talking about adding people and
bodies, yeah,
accounts and
to
management
the
structures and things
mix.
like that. That's where I think it's fun, but it's hard to plan for all that.
Yeah, because I had to go into, and figure out from recruiters and, within the company and say, okay, if I'm looking for this person, how much do you think um, in the past that they've spent for this, example person to
Mhm.
come in and take on this role? And so some organizations that you go to, they're fine to spend, spend, spend.
Mhm.
Others, they're known for a little bit more of penny pitching. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to kind of go in a balance and not, be like, all right, we need to do this much money, in the first month. And it was very touchy because I wasn't sure how it would be taken.
Mhm.
But I knew if I didn't come in with an understanding that I've researched this and I really want to lay it out, and, January to December of 2022, this is what we're going to spend. And, we're going to stay on budget and not go over. So with that, I did have to do a lot of research to figure out, from social media, different resources we'd use, social coach, and different other avenues that we could reach out to if we were going to need them to be in-house or if we wanted to outsource them. So I still will probably have to figure that kind of thing out, because I don't have a magic crystal ball to tell if it's going to all work out.
Oh yeah, it will surely
I certainly hope it does, but who knows? And so just kind of taking a stab at, what I want my vision to be for this department and hoping for the best.
Yeah. So tell me, what kind of roles are you looking to hire? Let's start with this actually. All right. Who's there now? And maybe not people, but what kind of roles are in there today, and which ones are you adding?
It's a small team currently.
Almighty, that's awesome.
Yeah. So looking to add on a promotions and event manager, a social media manager, a CRM admin, and also a content graphic specialist. So all those four, and then myself. So it'll be a team of 5.
It's and how many LOs? It's close to 200, right?
I believe it's 250.
Oh, 250. Oh my gosh, I'm totally out of the way. So 5 to 250. So that's a good chunk, dude. I think that's a great size. I love where your head's at with content creation, and obviously CRM management is very important. When you have to have clean data, you have to have good access to who you want to market to in order to
reporting, pulling in the content, making sure that all the reporting is going to the different branches, and also making sure that all the users are using the system. And then coordinating that with the trainers to make sure that all the LOs are on regular training, they understand the system, how it works, and the customer journey is working, and we have that content going through on a regular basis too.
That's great. Hey, wrapping up here, what is your advice to a new marketer or someone who is coming into a role where there is no marketing in a company, or they're starting a role in a new company as the head of marketing? What's your kind of advice to them?
Listen, do research about the company prior. Ask questions outside the industry of what they think of the brand. Figure out your plan ahead of time before you come in. Be prepared as possible, and be as confident as you can in yourself, because coming into a new company, there's probably perceived, expectations that others have of you, and they could be really good, they could be really bad, I don't know. But if you are, really confident in yourself, those don't matter. So definitely planning, talking to people who are, who are the power players who could really help you, those assets within the company, and then just listen, figure out what you can do to help others, not what you can do to help yourself. You're there as a resource for that company.
Love it, dude. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Eric, and thanks for everything up to this point. Any last?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. Any last parting thoughts here, or anything else you think we need to chat about before we wrap up here?
No, just can't wait to see you in about 5 days, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. TMC reunited 2021 in good old Los Angeles. Okay. Yep. Eric Skates, head of mortgage for First Option Mortgage. Thank you so much for your time today. Your wisdom, your grace, and your style. Look at that vest and everything, dude. You're popping today.
You told me to dress up.
Nice open t-shirt. Yeah. So guys, if you're again new into a mortgage company, new head of marketing, this is the guy to talk to. He's just gone through it. Take his advice and hit us up on LinkedIn.
Please, yes.
We'd love to chat anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, until next time, this is Mimic. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.